Hello, welcome back to the HCCTV Student Lounge. This is a show done by HCC students for HCC students to give your opinions in news, entertainment, and what's going on in our school. Hi Carolina, how are you today?
Hey Kyle, it's so good to see you. We're also joined today by Francisco, Josh, Andres, Eric, and Chaz. And we will also have two special guests for today. Daniel Dylla, who is the Faculty Senate President at HCC, and Christine Mompoint, the President of the Student Council. But first, let's move into our top 3 news of the week. So HCC Southwest Student Government Association is hosting an event highlighting the lives, accomplishments, and challenges of women across the world. This will happen on April 29 from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And you can go to see all of these events to hccs.presence.io. And we'll have the link over here in the description. Now, you can also learn more at College Money Moves events, offering a chance to win $500 in scholarships. So all you need to do is attend a 30-minute financial aid information session from April 11 to May 2. And this scholarship will be for fall 2021. Now, if you want to visit all the information, it will be provided at the link hcc.events.idloom.com. And we'll provide also the link in the description.
So actually, Carolina, in 2019, they need to create a song and the winner would get a music video, which they actually permit to shoot it and was really cool. And they also got a scholarship. So this year's so easy. You just got to attend the Zoom meeting pretty much, right? So that's so easy.
I know they get creative, and I guess before pandemic, things were a lot easier to like ask students to do videos and record all of these things. And this time it's just attending a 30-minute financial aid information, which are generally through Zoom. So it's very easy, just register, and actually it's gonna be very good for your budgeting and all of this financial aid things. Now, don't forget that April is Community College Month, and Houston Community College is proud to join with other community colleges across the nation this month to emphasize the important role of community colleges, the role that community colleges play in our society. So you can visit also our Chancellor's YouTube video where he provides some other information. But now let's begin our first topic, which makes way to a great discussion. So today we will have a very different type of discussion, which will be combined with the interview that we usually host. And we want to highlight the importance of understanding our own government. So starting over here at HCC, students and citizens, we have a voice in this democracy, and we actually have a student council and we have student government associations. So just to give you a brief information, the United Student Council is a district-wide student government that represents the Greater Community College District. And this was founded by members of various HCC campus student government associations, and it's comprised of the 6 executive board members, and the voting members are the CGA officers of the respective campuses. So this is something new to me because now I understand what's the difference of those two. And all the local student government associations are built to represent also the student body of the respective colleges. So it's, it's like a hierarchy, and the goal is simple. It aims to make student life on campus more responsive to student needs, and they are our voice. So we have to learn how they work. We have the president of the United Student Council today, and we also have the president of the Faculty Senate, which he will also give us information of how also the faculty needs a voice in our campus. So do you want to introduce us to them, Kyle?
With pleasure. So first we have Daniel Dylla. He's a Faculty Senate President at HCC. And as you mentioned, we also have Christine Mompoint, President of the Student Council at HCC. So first, Daniel, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Kyle. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. What about you, Christine? How are you today?
Doing awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start. So we're gonna do a little bit dynamic here today, and if you guys want to ask questions to each other, feel comfortable to do so. So first for you, Daniel, tell me, can you describe a little bit what do you do? So is HCC like a government? Like how does it work?
So as Carolina said, I'm the president of the Faculty Senate. So at this college, and really at many institutions of higher education, like HCC, shared governance is an important aspect of its makeup. And so we have what we call a faculty association. It was constituted or sort of brought about 20 years ago. And that faculty association represents all faculty. And it elects a senate of other faculty members. And then those senators there are 88 of us. Those senators elect one person to preside over the Senate as they meet. And so in 2019, in the fall of 2019, I was elected to that position. So I took office as president-elect, which is a formality. It's a lot of shadowing the current president. And so I shadowed Desmond Lewis. He's currently a dean at this college during that year. My term of office took effect in fall of 2020. So like all of you, in March of 2020, I was thinking things would go one way and they went another. And so my tenure has been entirely virtual. I've only existed as a little Zoom box for most people here. And so my role is representative of all the faculty to the administration of the college, to the board of trustees of the college, and to any other aspect of the college. I am a faculty representative. It's challenging to speak on behalf of about 900 faculty members full-time and about twice that for part-time. But it's something that I endeavor to do. It's important that I represent all faculty at all times. It's daunting to represent 3,000 people. I can't really even imagine what it's like to represent 328 million people in the US. So kudos to everyone else who works in government.
That's a lot of people. I wonder if everybody decides to send you an email at the same time, what would happen?
Yeah, I'd reply to everyone. It's been one of those things that I try to reply to every single person that does talk to me. Sometimes it's just to say thanks for reaching out, thanks for the feedback, because people see your face, people see your name a lot, and so you become a touchstone and a touchstone for people to contact if they don't know who else to do. I imagine that Christine has a similar position in her role too. She's highly visible, I think, as a student. And so if you don't know who to contact and you've gone through normal channels, I bet Christine gets a lot of emails herself.
Well, now that you mentioned that, what is the due process for a faculty member to reach out to you? Do they directly go to you and send you emails, or how do they have to do that?
Oh yeah, they can do whatever they want. They, like any other thing, you have a sort of normal chain of command, and sometimes that breaks down, right? I mean, most of us here have worked jobs of some kind. You've got a boss. If you've got a problem, you go to that boss. Well, I'm no one's boss. But where my position can be powerful is that I'm outside that normal chain of command. And so sometimes people bring forward issues that they're having, and I can suggest options that they may not have considered. And a benefit here is that sometimes I notice that people from different areas and divisions are having similar problems. And that's when we as a faculty senate can potentially take action to try to correct that or try to suggest changes to make that better.
And what is the most concerning thing to faculty? Like, what's the most common thing that why do they reach you out?
This year, as you can imagine, health and safety have been a huge priority for everyone, not only faculty members, but staff and students and really every single person who's living in the world. And so I think this year, especially in the fall, there was a lot of concern about what a safe return to campus looked like. And that was an overriding concern in the fall. I would say that was the most common issue that we ran into this year. And it was a fine line to deliver quality education and also keep everyone safe and healthy.
That's a really good point, and I think that probably as a student, there's a lot of people asking the same question for Christine. So Christine, I want you to tell us a little bit what you do.
Oh, well, again, thank you for having me. I represent the United Student Council as the president. So just to break it down a little bit more, and thank you, Carolina, for explaining a little bit of the difference. HCC, all 27 campuses are broken up into 6 colleges. Each college has their own SGA. And then overall, these SGAs is the United Student Council. And then we do also work with the Regional Student Government Association that covers all of the Houston community colleges, kind of like what you guys were talking about earlier with the chancellor saying how this is community college month, we want to support one another. And so at some point in my term, like last semester, I was on all 3 SGAs. But right now, I'm just very fortunate to be involved as the United Student Council president. We do work on the district issues. So for example, if you have an issue that's very specific to Central Campus, maybe you're having some challenges with a particular staff or faculty member there, you would go to Central SGA. But if you feel like you're having issues with the HCC libraries in general, or the general way that HCC run things, then you would come to us at the United Student Council and kind of share what you're saying. I love that. I'm not alone, and Mr. Dylla is talking about how like people have emailed him. People email me like constantly, and I'm just really, like he said, saying thank you for reaching out. Let me forward you to the appropriate contact. And then also as well to kind of talk about when students come to me with an issue, I don't necessarily have any power to demand anything or to expect things to go a certain way, but I can help a student navigate a chain of command if they haven't done that already, or maybe say, okay, well, let me take your feedback and bring it to an administrator and have them contact you. So a lot of it is trying to meet people in the middle, but also understanding that HCC is a very large system. Just like Mr. Dylla said, he represents, um, over 1,000 faculty, over 1,500 faculty. Essentially, the 6 board members I have now, we represent the 46,000 students. And so we definitely have a lot of work, but we also have a lot of support. So I did want to bring that out as well. Mr. Dylan and his team has been excellent in supporting the United Student Council. So thank you for that.
This is awesome. So I like how you said about the structure, the amount of people. So Daniel, do you also work with like a big group of people, or is it kind of similar, the structure through the same thing as Christina does? Like, how does it work?
It was similar. It's a little different now. So historically, we were set up pretty much the same way in that we were college based, and so we had a senate of, I forget the exact number. It was about 50 people, and we apportioned. Northwest College might have had 12 senators, and Southeast College might have had 8 based on enrollment numbers and things like that. In 2015, 2016, our instructional services, the department that faculty work in, was reorganized to be less geographically bound and more discipline or departmentally bound. And so, for example, now we have a dean of life and natural sciences, and under that dean is the chemistry department, the biology department, the physics department, and so on. And so in 2015 and 2016, our faculty senate rewrote our bylaws, and we reorganized the way that we elected ourselves to that by that instructional discipline. And so in this way now, for the last 5 years or so, instead of having a Northwest delegation or a Southeast delegation or a Central delegation, we have a delegation for health sciences or a delegation for the libraries, which is where I come from normally. And we elect 88 senators from those 20 different divisions. And so in that way, I feel like our representation is a little bit more appropriate for where faculty are not geographically bound. We were in the past. It might have been that I taught strictly at one campus, but now we teach where there is need and where there's demand. And so, but we teach within a given discipline. So our job as a Senate is to represent those different divisional issues that might come up in our regular Senate meeting. But it is meant as a cross collaborative body. So our committees are not based on just health science issues or just library issues or just English issues. They're based on workload issues or diversity and equity issues or instructional technology issues. And we have committees that work on those things. And so in our regular meetings, those smaller subcommittees report to the greater body. And then at that point, if there's something that needs to be done, if we need to speak as one voice, that's when we would take up this business and debate it and sort of procedurally discuss what we need to do, if we need to say something or make a statement or things like that. And that's something that we would vote on, potentially vote on formally.
And how long is the term for you? And I'm gonna ask the same question to Christine. So you were elected in 2019. Is your term almost over?
Yes, yes, and it's a wonderful experience. So the term, we elect someone in a given year to be the elect, so president-elect, and that is one academic year, so it's fall to fall. And then at the end of that elect term, we take office, and so I am in that part. And then immediately after that, we assume another office called the immediate past president, which is a formal role, but an advisory role to the current sitting president. And so in some ways, the role is really 1 year. There's 1 year where I get, put on billboards or called to meetings or whatever the case may be. There's a year before that where I'm sort of shadowing and practicing. And there's a year after that where I'm helping the current president with any advice that they may need. So really the answer is, as with most things, slightly more complicated, but it's 1 full year with a year on either side where you do different things.
And to answer your question, for me, it really is just a year. As a student, you are welcome to run more than once. So I've actually been a SGA officer for 3 years straight. First on the Northwest board, then on the Northwest and the United Student Council, and now just on the United Student Council. And as long as you don't run for the same position more than once, you're welcome to continue running as long as you are at least a part-time HCC student with a 2.7 GPA or higher.
That's super interesting, Christine. I actually have another question for you, for someone who's interested in that kind of thing. About how many hours of work do you think you put in a week just for doing your essentially your presidential duties? Because there's some people who have jobs and have some people are taking full-time classes and have full-time jobs and stuff, and maybe they're interested in the student council. They want to know, how many hours is this really going to take for me every week? Because maybe I don't have that much time.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a really great question. On our contracts, we have a contract that we sign because we do get a scholarship. Every officer gets a scholarship per semester for the work that they do. And so on the contract, it says 10 hours a month is the minimum. I'll be so honest with you. It is way more than 10 hours a month, but it is very worth it. And what I really appreciate about the administrators and the people that we work with, that we've had meetings in the evening because people have work. We've had meetings, maybe a 30-minute meeting this week, and then we'll reconvene later in the next week, or we try to correspond over email, so that way we can accommodate to everyone's schedule. Because of course, with the pandemic, some of us were working, some of us were not, some of us have families, so it was kind of crazy. But I would definitely say, if I had to make an average of the week in, week out, maybe 4 to 5 hours a week to kind of prep yourself for any meetings that are coming up. And then also some of the meetings that we have with the administrators is more like what we do.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Well, now that you're talking about the scholarship, what other benefits do you have for us being part of the student council, if we want to?
Yeah, so honestly, I would say that the United Student Council, student government, is a part of who I am as a person now. It has really shaped me as far as my leadership abilities, my the way that I write, the way that I do public speaking. I've got to meet a lot of incredible administrators, in the district administration, the local college administrations, within the faculty senate. And then when we were in person, we got to go on some really cool trips. We went to Disney World more than once. We went to Austin, we went to Dallas, and they were all for good purposes. We were already at a leadership conference, and they're like, hey, since we're here, let's get to go and do this really cool trip. So I think that if you're looking for something that you can grow in, because I think some people come in and they think, oh, I have to be this professional person, or I have to look a certain way. You don't. You just come as you are, and there are mentors. There's the student life coordinators who run student life events that will train you. They'll send us to trainings. They'll support you. The administrators really want to hear what students have to say. There's a lot of support so that you can become the best leader that you want to be. So I would definitely recommend it to anyone who's interested.
Christine, I totally agree with you. I've been part of different organizations, that it builds you as the character and the skills of leadership and all of that. Now, what do you need to do to join you? I'm so excited of everything that you've mentioned: scholarship, trips, everything. What do we need to do to go and join?
So last Friday was the last day that a student could apply to be an officer. And so they put in an application. Now you guys are gonna get a wave of emails to elect the people who are wanting to run. You can really see their videos, what they're interested in. If you are interested in being a member, you can still join by going to presence, right? And I think that already be in the description and looking at the appropriate SGA that corresponds with your campus. And I would say join, because there may be committee opportunities where, just like Mr. Dylla mentioned with the Faculty Senate, we have committees as well. And you can work on some of those things. And even though you may not be an officer, you may get to go on some of the outings and things that we have. Also, too, sometimes students, we're a community college, they may graduate in the middle of the semester, or every summer people run and then leave because they decide to go to different college. There may be an open officer position for you to apply for. So I would say, go on presence, join us now so you can get the updates about what leadership roles are available.
So a little bird told me that Francisco wanted to ask a few questions. Go ahead, Francisco.
Thank you, Kaya. So I just quickly wanted to ask, thank you for both of your answers so far. I wanted to ask a question that can really be applied to both of y'all. Since you are, representatives of much larger in some cases, groups, do you guys think that your the makeup of the representatives is actually representative of the people that y'all are representing? I keep saying that word. And do you think that, or what are the efforts that you do in order to include different types of groups with different types of backgrounds and try to get more people, on whether it's subcommittees that you have or any of the other groups at different campuses? How do you ensure that everybody has a voice?
I'll let Christine go first.
Thank you, Mr. I think that's a very powerful question, because a lot of what we see in, for example, our Texas legislature is a lot of older white men, right? And that is not reflective of every single type of person in Texas. And so we think to ourselves, are we getting the most out of our representatives? Because are they the people that look and sound and feel like us? And so when I look at the United Student Council, when I first joined SGA, every single member of my board was an international student except for me. We used to joke about how we had a student from different continents, because we did. We had a student from each continent except for Antarctica, and it was the coolest thing ever. And we used to brag about it all the time, because we really were a very diverse group of students. And when I look across the district, we do have older students, younger students. Our parliamentarian for the United Student Council was a grandfather last semester, and he's has his granddaughter on his lap talking to the administration about how it's important for students to have technology. And I love that about what we do. I think that there's always room for improvement, right? I would love to see more students that are with disabilities, or where English is their second language. I think we always have we have a lot of international students, but they may have come from a country where English is already being spoken there. And so would love to see more students from that demographic. And so we try to make sure that the emails are getting sent out to the entire student body, and really telling students hey, you don't have to come fully prepared. We'll prepare you, in hopes that will encourage them to apply.
Yeah, in our case, as Christine said, diversity takes a lot of different forms, right? It's not just skin color or your gender or your orientation. And so our focus is to make sure that we're representing all of the faculty's interests, which takes a lot of different forms. A couple of years ago, we instituted our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee and made that a priority for our group. In some cases, some of our faculty senate has we also have different kinds of faculty to represent, those in continuing education or in the workforce programs or in the academic disciplines. And so we do outreach both in kind of work that we do, but it also is important to us that we sort of look like who our faculty are. And I will say, from a college's perspective, we recently hired an officer for diversity, equity, and inclusion that's in the Chancellor's Executive Council, which is a very high-ranking position. And so our faculty do not look exactly like our student population. That said, I actually am consistently impressed at how diverse our faculty makeup is here at this college. And I'll speak just from my department in libraries. When I do go to national conferences for libraries, it maybe isn't surprising that there's a lot of older white women at library conferences. It's a predominantly female profession, and it's a at university level sometimes predominantly white profession, and so there are various issues, and they're aware of the they're aware of that at these conferences, and there's lots of sessions talking about how to increase it and what they can do. And when I go to those, I think of how lucky I am to work here at HCC, because our libraries are incredibly diverse, both in racially and gender based. And so, all that said, it's always a work in progress to look and represent the people, to look like the people you're representing, and to understand their interests in that way. So it's been a goal of mine to make sure that our next year's Senate is properly diverse, right? So we've been trying to contact the different people and make sure they understand how they can be involved and how they can participate. And we'll see. Our elections are actually going on pretty soon too, so we'll see how it goes.
That's really interesting to hear, Mr. Dylla, about how you're trying to get more diverse candidates to reflect the population. But I have a quick question for Christine before we wrap up this segment. So on the student side, do you guys follow like the Roberts rules of trying to like make sure everything lines up just how the real government does, to show that, yeah, this is like training if you wanted to go into this further in your career?
Yeah, that's actually an excellent question. So last summer, I personally ran for Robert's Rules of Order training for our students that were involved. And we used that with all of our like general assembly meetings, and then the executive council meetings. But then also we go to a bigger meeting with all the community colleges in the state called the Texas Junior College Student Government Association. And like, it is very, very heavy on Robert's Rules. I actually switched my major to political science off of attending that event. So I do feel like I have been prepared and taught enough to like, even when they were having like the impeachment trials, I was kind of following in. I was like, hey, I know those terms. Hey, that is out of order. And it was just really interesting to be able to use that in the real world.
That's a great way to answer this question. Thank you very much, Christine. So guys, we need to say goodbye for you too, but Daniel, thank you so much for being here. And as a staff member, it's good to know there's someone represent me. And as a student, it's really good to know, Christine, that we have someone represent you guys. And if I have any complaints, you can be waiting for my email, okay? I'm gonna be contacting you guys. So far, so good. And again, thank you so much for being here.
Now, we also cover things that are entertaining to watch, and I'll start with a drama show you can find on Netflix. It's called Designated Survivor, and it has 3 seasons. Now, as a lower level cabinet member, Tom Kirkman, he never imagined something would happen that would catapult him to the Oval Office. At night, there was a devastating attack on the State of the Union, and it claimed the lives of the president and most of the cabinet. So, just as the Housing and Urban Development Secretary, he was named as a designated survivor and he took over. Now, it's very entertaining, and also it gives a lot of information of how the system works. So don't miss it, and I highly recommend it. Thank you.
Okay, I want to recommend a movie called Minority Report. It's about the governments around the world, especially in the U.S., forming what's called an agency pre-crime. Pre-crime agency is designed to prevent any type of crime before it happens, whether it's murder or anything else. Its star member, who's played by Tom Cruise, is accused of the crime before it happens. So the government assigns all its agents to go after him. The movie's about him trying to prevent himself from becoming a murderer. It's directed by Steven Spielberg, and it's based on science fiction ideas.
Today I want to recommend the movie All President's Men. It's a movie from 1976. It's about it's a true story about the biggest scandals in American politics, about the Watergate case. The Washington Post reporters, both Woolworth and Carl Bernstein, they made an investigations about how people from the former President Nixon, they entered into the Democratic Party office in the Watergate building, and they spied all the different documents. This investigation made the President Richard Nixon quit his position. It's a very good movie, starring by Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. I really recommend.
Great recommendations, guys. And as always, a time today to say goodbye. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.
Also, don't forget to send us your opinion and send us topics that you would like to discuss. We'll see you next time on the Student Lounge.